Good morning. How are you today? So, I wanted to talk today a little bit. Last week, I spoke about it was National Foot Week and how there was a real connection between the pelvic floor and the foot. And I meant to come on live to explain a little bit more about that, but in the end, I really needed to rest at the end of the week, so I did that because that's really important. So, my approach to pelvic floor strength and increasing pelvic floor function is really about that it's a whole body approach, because what happens, the body isn't doesn't work in separate sections. Everything's connected, everything works together. If there's things going in one place in the body, then it affects things in the other place. So you, just by focusing on um strengthening the pelvic floor and doing Kegels, is not going to get you those long lasting results that you need. And it might well be that your pelvic floor muscles are too tight anyway. And so just doing pelvic floor strength is just going to increase the tension in your pelvic floor muscles and so exacerbate the dysfunction. So let's have a look. We tend to, I'll show you what's in there later. So what we tend to think about with the feet is that they can really show us what's going on in the pelvic floor and give us an idea, particularly of what you need to be um, working on. So that helps a lot if you're working individually, give you ideas of where you've got some weakness or tightness or tension, and why. I mean, I think knowing why you're doing the exercises really helps to keep that motivation going. So let me just move this down so you can see. Right, people need to be able to see me now. So where are you going to go and sit? Do you want to come and sit? You'll come and sit on the cushion over here. Sit on the cushion there for me. Do you want to have a look through my crystals? Because I really need to do this. Yeah. So when you are tight feet, especially at the front, and toes that crunch down, are a result of you taking up a postural habit of leaning forwards like this, so that you're really putting all the weight down into your toes and into the front of your feet. So this is something that you'll do a lot as a result of shoes with heels on. And regardless of the height of heels, the majority of our shoes have a heel, and they might even have an inbuilt heel, so they'll look flat, but they've got a heel inbuilt in the sole. And if you have a look at kids' shoes, they've all got heels. And if you think about how tall a child is, just even a tiny miniature heel is going to start pushing them forwards. What happens is as soon as you've got a heel on your shoes, you're being pushed forwards onto your toes. Now, what happens after that, in order for you to keep balanced, is you've got to lean back to counteract being pushed forwards. So what happens with that is you end up tucking your bum underneath you. And we know when you tuck your bum underneath you that you shorten the pelvic floor muscles. The distance between the places where the pelvic floor muscles join is shortened. The pelvic floor muscles become short and tight, and a short and tight muscle is a weak muscle. And then it's even further exacerbate that, and I don't know whether you can see, but you end up pushing your chest out. Let me just tilt that up a little bit. So you end up pushing your chest out to also try and counterbalance and to have a nice straight position, and that puts a lot of pressure here on your lower back, but it also puts pressure on your stomach. And when you've got pressure on your stomach pushing out, it also pushes down. So you have got, just by the type of shoes you're wearing, you're putting loads and loads of pressure on your pelvic floor. So it doesn't matter how many Kegels you do. Um, if this is your natural everyday posture, it's you're never going to be able to sort of counteract that movement. So this is why we look at reducing heels with reducing the heels on your shoes slowly, and then we also look at remobilizing and getting rid of the tension on your feet. But also, can you see that leaning forward, you end up shortening the calf muscle here. So and the hamstring. So you're going to want to build up length there, so allow the muscle to get back to its original length, and then build up the strength and balance in the legs. So you're thinking of the exercises that you need to be doing. You then need to be, in order to be able to untuck the pelvis, you need to be able to strengthen the muscles that go around the pelvis and support it. So that's where you start to build up the glutes and the hips. So another thing that the feet can tell you is what's happening in the hip joints. So a lot of the time you'll find if you've got a pelvis that isn't in alignment, you have not got the muscle strength here, either in the glutes. You've either got like a no bum because you've tucked it under, and you're also really weak on these muscles here that surround the pelvis. So I'm just going to pop this on the floor and hope that you can, put my glasses on as well so I can see what's going on. So let's have a think about the arch of the foot. So the arch, you often hear people say they've got flat feet or they've got high arches, as though there is nothing that can be done about it. But the arch of your foot is actually made up of muscles. And so with muscles can be built up and strengthened and reduced as well. But what's really causing the flat foot or the high arches is what's happening further up the leg. So that's a really nice foot massage, thank you. So when you are getting a flat foot, let's have a look, you are turning your whole leg inwards. Can you stand this side so that, I'll do it on this side. So you're turning your whole leg inwards, which is pushing the foot, the arch of the foot onto the floor. As you're turning this hip inwards, not only you can see that the knee comes in, so the knee and the foot aren't tracking right, but you're also bringing your hip joint out of alignment, so almost not having it function directly into the part of the socket. That's the word I'm looking for. The ball of the femur is not sitting in the socket of the pelvis, so you're not getting a really good. I won't go into how that affects the hip health, but what I'm saying is it's showing that your pelvis is not held stably. If you've got a high arch, you are doing the opposite thing. You're twisting your hip outwards and creating that very high arch of the foot. You're almost walking on the sides of your feet. And again, we'd need to work on strengthening the hip joints. So that's a really quick explanation of how what's happening in your feet is affecting your pelvic floor, why it's happening, and why you've got to look further up and understand how the whole body fits together and is working together to be able to say, to know where to go to and what exercises to do and why you need to do them to sort out the issue, which is why the feet play a huge important role. And we haven't really discussed the walking gait as well, which I spoke about in the post last Monday, in that the foot needs to be mobile. Let me just see if we can do this, Sullivan. When you take a walking step, you need to be able to put the heel to the ground, and then you need to be able to roll right through your foot and push off with your toes. Now, if you've got solid soled shoes and heels, you tend to just put the edge of your heel rather than the ball of your heel onto the ground. So that creates, I can't think of the word. God, my words have all gone today. But it causes like a hitting motion. Somebody give me that word. Up your leg, and then because your foot isn't able to move and to roll because it's got a fixed sole, you tend to just do like a flat-footed walk, which means that you're really almost stamping into the ground, and you can't get that push off with the toes because your toes can't bend to then push you into the next step. So you end up with your ankles, your knees and your hips taking the brunt of the force of your heel hitting the ground and the inability of your foot to flex. And in order to bring your leg forward rather than you being able to push off from your toes, you end up pulling forwards with your hip flexors, which we know pulls. Then if you can't push off from the toes to get the next step, and you're bringing your leg forward with the hip flexor, with every step it's pulling your pelvis under, tucking your bum under, even more with each step. So you can see that hindering your foot's ability to move properly with walking and standing is really going to affect your pelvic floor. So it's remiss to not be working on that area whilst during a pelvic floor strength program. I hope that makes sense. I'm aware that I sometimes go off on quite complex things, but I really hope that makes sense, that this is why it's a whole body approach. This is why if you're trying to work with Kegels and they're not working, this is why, because you need to be looking at other areas of your body to work on, and also why the results are so quick and long lasting doing this kind of work. I mean, I really do have a lot of women who have worked with me who've seen results pretty quickly, just implementing a couple of exercises a day. You know, it's not about how many exercises you can do each day, but knowing the right ones and being able to fit them easily into your life. So let me know if that's spoken to you, if that's made sense. And if you want to further the work, then carry on keeping an eye out, because I've got my membership programs coming along, and work one-to-one. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. We're going to have a cup of tea, do some drawing. Yeah. All right, have a lovely rest of the day, and any questions or any comments, then please pop them in below. It just means the more Facebook can be quite a pain. So if you've watched this, if you can just put a hashtag replay, or do a like or a love heart, it just means that people in the rest of the group will also be shown this by Facebook, because otherwise Facebook doesn't show posts. It's frustrating. All right, take care. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.